Hello there, a very good evening to all our viewers, and this is Primetime News. We're coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst Center here in Colombo. I'm Joel Outscore.
And I'm Katharina Chang. Now, before we get into your stories in detail, let's first take a look at the headlines tonight.
President emphasizes the need to carry forward democracy and peace within a just society. Prime Minister comments on the Treasury bond issue. Elections Commissioner requests candidates to not inconvenience the GCE advanced level examination. Court issues notices on Minister Rishad Badiuddin and 8 others on the deforestation of the Wilpattu National Park.
The newly constructed building for the Faculty of Graduate Studies of the General Sir John Kutulawala Defence University was declared open by President Maithripala Sirisena.
Built at a cost of 750 million rupees, the new state-of-art building comprises of many facilities for studies, including fully equipped modern auditorium, 16 lecture halls and a computer laboratory. President Maithripala Sirisena also made a special note marking the event. When we are building the future through the lessons learned from the bitter experience of the war, we need to have a broad program to bring reconciliation among the communities of the country. Therefore, as the new government, we are building reconciliation among communities and taking forward a strong democracy and freedom within a just society and following a policy of coexistence.
Elections Commissioner Mahinda Deshapriya made a request from all candidates today.
As the parliamentary election is scheduled to be held on the 17th of August, the election-related campaigns have reached its peak. We would like to request all the politicians and supporters not to inconvenience students facing the A-level examination which started today and students who would sit for the scholarship examination to begin on the 23rd of August when carrying out campaigns. And I would also like to ask you to refrain from using loudspeakers for your political campaign meetings when organizing musical shows.
The election manifesto of the United National Party was presented to the Mahanayak of the Malwatha chapter of the Siam sect, Most Venerable Tibbatuawe Sri Sumangala Thero.
The manifesto was presented by Minister Lakshman Kiriyala, who later engaged in a discussion with the Mahanayaka Thero.
On to one of our headline-making stories this evening. Notices were issued on 9 persons, including Minister Rishad Badiuddin and the Secretary to the Ministry of Environment, to appear before the Court of Appeal on the 26th of September. Notices were issued today after a petition filed with the court on the destruction caused to the Wilpattu National Park was taken up today.
The petition filed by the Centre for Environmental Justice was taken up before the Court of Appeal Chairman Vijit Malalgoda and Justice H.T.J. Madhavala. In the petition, the Centre for Environmental Justice points out that the deforestation of the Madichan Kattu and Madu reserves in close proximity to the Wilpattu National Park and the construction of houses in a 2,000-acre land is posing a risk to the environment. We pointed out that this destruction is taking place in violation of the Forest Conservation Ordinance, National Environmental Act and all other regulations. In addition, a proper environmental impact assessment report has not been produced. Moreover, some of the officials have violated the rules and regulations and taken certain decisions beyond their powers in favor of certain powerful persons in the government. The facts noted in the petition were proven before the chairman of the Court of Appeal. Afterwards, the chairman of the Court of Appeal, together with the others in the bench, issued notices against 8 of the respondents.
The United People's Freedom Alliance convened a press conference today.
Views were expressed on alleged irregularities that are said to have taken place when providing the contracts to construct Phase 1 of the Central Expressway. The Prime Minister tables a cabinet paper after nullifying the one that was presented by the Minister of Highways. Rather than appointing a committee which should comprise ministry secretaries and other officials, he had appointed persons based on his whim to the committee in question. During our time, they are accused of providing the contract to the MCC. However, this time around, it is being given to the Chinese company called MCC. During our government, the cost of a kilometre was 3.36 billion rupees. However, this time around, a kilometre cost 4.7 billion rupees. Through this cabinet bill, Ranil Wickremesinghe has stolen almost 50 billion rupees from the taxpayers' money. Venerable Madhulave Sobhita Thero has signed an agreement for the second time with him. The Venerable Thero said that if anyone had swindled public funds, that person must consume poison. So Ranil Wickremesinghe must consume poison. If he cannot afford it, we have purchased a bottle of poison on his behalf.
Ranil Wickremesinghe mahathaya anu wahabonta ඕනේ. වහබෝතලක සල්ලි නැත්තම් අපි ගෙනාව වහබෝතල්. මෙන්න රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාට පුළුවන් මෙන්න අපි ගෙනාව වහබෝතල් මේකේ මේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාගේ වහබෝතලේ.
The Venerable Thero said not to involve the underworld and the drug peddlers, if so, drink poison. Here is poison for Ravi Karunanayake to consume together with the governor of the central bank. Here is a bottle of poison for Mangala Samaraveera, who introduced the raffle voting system. If Harin Fernando is issuing permits to mine for sand in the Mahayangania Divisional Secretariat without the permission of the UMP organizer Upali Sen Ratna, here is a bottle of poison for Valley Sudha. We hope that Venerable Madhulave Sobhita Thero would take time to visit them with these bottles of poison. You are here to do good for the country. Tell them to either consume poison or resign from their positions.
මේ රටට හොඳක් කිරීමේ බලාපොරොත්තුවෙන් එක්කෝ මේ අයට වහබොන්ට කියන්න එහෙම නැත්නම් වහාම තනතුරට ඉල්ලා ආශ්‍රෙන්න කියන්න කියලා.
Taking a look at one of the stories that made it to the headlines this evening. Speaking at the Sri Lanka Economic Summit 2015, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe spoke about the controversial treasury bond issue.
We took a policy decision that there cannot be private placements unless urgent. Why can't you pay the market rates in the local market for the rupees when you are paying the market rates for the foreign bondholders? That if it makes a capital that much more expensive for the government, then the government must restructure its spending priorities so that you can build palaces in Jaffna and that type of thing. No, we have to pay the market rate. And when I came in and I found that the governor was not following it because some of the officials view that it's better to have private placement, I told him, look, I want it done from the next day onwards. And on the other hand, the court has dismissed a case which was against the governor. So can I ask a man to go on that basis? Will you ask anyone to go from your firm if that's the basis? The next one is, I always said the report is going to Parliament. So we are going to Parliament. I prefer the select committee, but the Speaker appointed a subcommittee of 4, and the chairman refused to call the members of the committee which gave the report. All those who served in this select committee and were re-elected will serve in that committee together with others decided by party leaders, and they can investigate this fully.
The body of Niroshan Sampath, one of the persons who was killed in the drive-by shooting in Bloomendaal, Kothayana, was brought to his residence last night.
The gunmen opened fire at a group of supporters of Minister Ravi Karunanayake during an election campaign on Friday, the 31st of July, killing a woman.
Niroshan Sampath was the second victim of the shooting to succumb to his injuries. When Newsfirst visited the residence of 36-year-old Niroshan Sampath in Grand Pass, a large crowd had already gathered. Niroshan Sampath was a carpet salesman. Despite being able to build a 2-storied house, he had rented out the ground floor because the income generated through his employment did not suffice. Crowds in their numbers arrived until this morning to pay their last respects to the deceased. Minister Ravi Karunanak arrived last night to pay his last respects to the victim.
I request the Secretary of Defence to conduct an investigation and arrest those involved and also ensure that the maximum punishment is given to them. However, if there is an attempt to release this person, I will join with the people.
The funeral of Niroshan Sampath will take place on Thursday. Welcome back to the news. UPF Kurunagala district candidate Mahinda Rajapaksa attended a meeting in Horana yesterday.
We wish to remind you that we have enough funding and we know how to find funds in order to fulfill the promises we have made in our manifesto. If we cannot find these funds, then we can utilize the 18 billion that is in my account. It is not any ordinary currency, but American dollars. If one of those shameless people can prove that I have even $1 of this, then I will take a knife and slit my throat.
Another edition of the series of meetings of the United National Party in the Hambantota district took place last evening.
This meeting in Suryawewa, Hambantota took place under the auspices of UMP Deputy Leader Sajit Premadasa.
What I say is this: what the former president says is true. We have stopped some of the projects that you initiated. We stopped the ethanol project and the importation of drugs. We stopped the project where burglary reigned supreme. He says that he will recommence them a week after victory. Do we want a future with drugs? Do the people of this country aspire for a future with ethanol?
Leader of the Democratic Party, Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca, addressed a public rally in Puja, Pitya.
What we ask from the people is this: in order to ensure the victory that we achieved on the 8th of January, come the 17th, think about the country, think about the future of the children and make a wise decision. Make a brave decision and make it a challenge. Think about the country and not the politicians.
A public rally of the JVP took place in Deniaya yesterday.
A loan is obtained from China and a port, a ground and a bridge is constructed. Do we need a leader to do that? Give the loan to the village trader to build a road. Will he not do that? Rulers are not required for that. For what do you need a ruler? The economy of the country needs to be built, and once it develops, a share of it needs to be directed to the treasury. Then the funds have to be used for the construction of the road. That is where the leader comes into play. For 67 years, the opposition of this country was split among two political parties. Give an opportunity for the JVP. We will definitely resolve the issues of the people and the country.
Religious events were held in order to celebrate the 50th birthday of the Minister of Power and Energy, Partli Champika Ranawaka.
Minister Partli Champika Ranawaka received blessings of the Mahasangha subsequent to presenting arms to 50 members of the Sangha. A situation has been created where there is an attempt to incite fear. They use the conflict between the underworld groups. They are trying to create a sense of fear in the people's minds by carrying out murders so that they could change the percentages of votes. Security forces will have to bear the responsibility to prevent such conspiracies. I would like to request all of you to not pay attention to such acts and come forward for the sake of the country's peace and coexistence.
Leader of the People's National United Front for Good Governance, Susil Kindal Peter, toured the district of Colombo in order to inquire into the issues faced by the people.
While touring the Nugegoda town, Susil Kindal Peter inquired into problems faced by the people and carried out discussions with the traders of the area. Thereafter, he travelled to the Maharagama and Pannipitiya areas. My view is that we need to elect a group to parliament that would battle against the governments that come through the traditional politics and force the governments to provide solutions to the people's issues.
With all the important general election not too far away, the political platform is certainly heating up. Here are some of the views expressed on the political stage.
It was after looking back at the last 6 months that we realized that there were certain things that were wrong and that certain people should have been punished. So the government which will be established with Mahinda Rajapaksa as Prime Minister will be a rectified government. There are corrupt and uneducated people in our lists. I said to the people of this country that when you vote on the 17th of August, we could not give you pure milk. Instead, we are giving you milk mixed with water. Dear Dallas, do you not have any political responsibility? Why did you mix them up? Let your conscience decide on who you should vote for. It is your vote that decides who you are handing the future of this country as well as yours and your children for the next 6 years. Who gives leadership to drugs and alcohol? Who gives orders for the murders? Where does the bad odor come from? Shouldn't the parliament be cleaned up? Isn't a major cleanup needed for this? Some might ask why Mahinda Rajapaksa, who was president, is now running for prime minister. He is contesting to be prime minister because of the people's interest, not because of anything else. It is the people and MPs that want him back. Our economy has crumbled. When development projects are halted, the jobs which are created through them are also lost. When jobs are lost, people lose their income. Unemployment is widespread today and the people have no income. After holding discussions with Google, we have created the opportunity for every individual to access the internet free of charge from any part of the country from December. This is a major transformation in terms of development. This is what we strive to do. This is not some fake development or a show. We have suffered enough by trying to make a change. Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is promising hundreds and thousands of jobs, is the very person who brought in the 16-1 circular and abolished job vacancies. Right throughout our history, there have always been people who take your vote and not fulfill your promises and expectations. Our political decisions have always been based on party politics, personal agendas and as returning a favour. We have never elected a leader or leaders who were honest and had policies to take the country forward. On one side of Mahinda Rajapaksa's list, a drug dealer has been fielded. On the other, a thief. And on another, since a thug cannot be fielded, his wife has been fielded. So can we even consider to hand this country, the country which is home to your children, to a group of drug dealers, thieves and thugs? When you vote, do not vote for those who change sides. There are some who do not want to get on the platform for the fear of being hooted at. Why are they being hooted at in the first place? Because they did commit wrong. If someone hoots at me, the next day's headline in the newspaper would say, Mahinda Singha gets hooted at. I have not done politics in a way to be hooted at, have I? So these are all organized. You think tackling a Kurunegala district candidate is much of a big deal for the people who chased away the president, who used state property, state money and state media? The United National Party is trying to recreate the firearm culture. Let's take the decision to protect Mahinda Rajapaksa for a better tomorrow for our children.
We had a very fearful past, a past full of state terrorism. So me and my party are of the stance that we should learn the lessons through this past without forgetting it.
The police are acting above the elections commissioner. We are contesting as candidates whose hands have been tied and not allowed to put up a poster, distribute a leaflet, nor hold a meeting.
Mahinda
Rajapaksa's regime lost because they invaded the country by having underworld gangs as allies, white vans, and went to the extremes of corruption, wastage, aroused racism, and took this country to the jaws of destruction. I would like to say that all those who have not learned from this defeat will lose again.
Welcome back to the news. A discussion on BOI regulations and procedures took place yesterday.
Journalists raised questions on the future direction of the government.
Let's leave the future direction to be decided after the 17th of August. Firstly. Secondly, what the reality of the situation is that the budget proposals that were brought in at the last budget, that was brought in by way of a law. The time period that was envisaged in the law has now expired by the end of 31st of March. I'm not talking about the budget.
Law will be enacted, has to be enacted.
Law has to be enacted, which has not been enacted so far. So that has to be thought of. That's why I said the 17th of August we'll have to decide that. Right? There has to be a new law that has to be brought in. Now, as I told you, for the entirety of last year, it was $1.6 billion investment. But at the moment, there are about, I would say, quote only about 3 to 4 projects. These 3 to 4 projects, once implemented, will draw an investment of more than $4,000 million. Anyway, Article 157 in the Constitution and say that we protect these investments with countries that we have entered into investment protection agreements and then go and take them over. We don't instill any confidence in these people. And also, in a situation where the Chief Justice of the country is being kicked out, we don't instill any confidence in the investors. When there is no rule of law in a country, we don't instill any confidence in the investors. They want the law to apply equally to all. It's not just a question of having the law on the book.
Speaking at an event yesterday, former chairman of COPE expressed the following views.
There was an attempt to undermine the credibility of the reports that were compiled. The first stone was by Ranil Wickramasinghe at the Chamber of Commerce. He said that he will not be summoned before COPE. Now Parliament was dissolved. There is no COPE. There are many reports that are being released. In the first round, Sujiva says that is not the report. Then he goes to court to prevent the publication. He wants to stop it. The report is with all 13 members of COPE. Can reports being published be stopped?
The Think campaign, which was launched in order to motivate voters to exercise their franchise to elect suitable persons for the legislature, took place today as well. The initiative is organized by Sirasa, Shakti and Newsfirst, together with the Campaign for Free and Fair Election.
When the Think campaign reached the town of Ambilipiti today, locals arrived enthusiastically to sign the pledge to elect law-abiding and corrupt-free persons.
We need to vote for a person who loves the country and works towards society and the country. We need to vote for a candidate who is corrupt-free and just.
The Think campaign reached Panamura this evening. The other leg of the campaign, which was inaugurated from Jaffna, reached Wariapola this morning. The Newsfirst team raised awareness among the public on exercising their franchise in a proper manner, distributed leaflets and also obtained signatures for the pledge.
We need to elect intelligent persons to Parliament.
The campaign reached Kurunagala this evening.
Day 4 of our Think campaign commenced in the Varyapola town early this morning, and then we arrived in the Kurunegala town at 3 p.m. and commenced our campaign there. The people of Kurunegala and Varyapola both showed much enthusiasm in our endeavour, and we pasted stickers and put up banners in each town we visited. And tomorrow morning we will be heading towards the Kandy town at 9 a.m. and we request all living in the Kandy area to arrive at the Kandy bus station and render their support towards this endeavour.
The Think campaign will take place in Ratnapura and Kandy tomorrow.
Sri Lankan Scouts taking part in the 23rd World Scout Jamboree in Japan took part in a number of activities today. The World Scout Jamboree, which commenced on the 29th, will conclude on the 7th of August.
The Scouts from across the world are camped in a 3 square kilometre area, and many activities have been organised in and around the premises. Sri Lankan Scouts took part in the activities that were organised in the special zone of the Jamboree premises, which provided them with a novel experience. The Sri Lankan Scouts camped here are engaged in the various activities that have been organised. They are learning new things. The Sri Lankan Scouts are learning many things that are offered here at the World Scout Jamboree. Not only did the activities provide them with the survival training, but also taught them on how to have fun.
In sports news this evening, today was day 2 of the Experience Sri Lanka with Commandos 4x4 expedition organised by the Sri Lanka Army Commando Regiment. Sports First is the media sponsor of the event. Experience Sri Lanka with Commandos 4x4 expedition was flagged off today from Alampil. Today's leg of the expedition covered 147 kilometers, passing Valioya, Pulmure and reached the scenic Nila Valley area. The Experience Sri Lanka with Commandos 4x4 expedition will travel 120 kilometers to reach Ulhitia tomorrow.
And that's a look at your primetime news. As always, it's a pleasure having you with us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Katharina Chang.
And I'm Joel Outskun. Before wrapping up, here's reminding you that you keep abreast of the trending stories on our award-winning website, www.newsfirst.lk. Take care and good night.